So maybe I should call this the whole truth on yoga. Because what is yoga actually? Some people say it's a belief system. Some people say it's actually a religion. Well then, why don't we have yoga temples? Because that is what this is. This is the yoga temple. The body is the yoga temple. And the videos that I am finding on YouTube that are talking about yoga asanas being a way of tricking us into worshiping Hindu deities is a complete fabrication from the minds of the religious people who are either sponsored by the church or completely delulu. I don't know what it is. All I know is it looks like they get a mighty high amount of comments that look quite sus, as if the entire congregation that helped this person to achieve some level of social media attention just come on there to make comments. It's like, I don't know, to me it seems like very high potential that a church would sponsor such a thing, and it encourages community involvement. It's kind of funny, but apparently even AI, I asked AI a while ago, what are the benefits of gossip? Because this is gossip that the church is practicing about the eightfold path of right living, which yoga actually is. We'll get into that in a minute. So, funny enough, I just saw a video that was all about contents of the Bible, and some of that Bible content does say, gossip is not something that we do. Well, if gossip is something that we don't do, then why are you gossiping about yoga? As if you know for a fact that it tricks you into worship. How can you be fooled into worship if you don't even believe to begin with? You have no desire to believe in something, and then you do, some kind of asana. You do maybe a mudra, whatever it is. You do some type of pose, and automatically that pose is forcing you into a state of worship. Excuse me? That is sus. Okay? First and foremost, let me actually disclose to you the whole truth about yoga. This is going to take a minute. So, this is all of yoga. 4 on here, 4 on here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Yoga. This is what yoga is. So, we're starting with yamas and niyamas. This is the first parts of yoga. Yamas, niyamas. Yamas are your self-control, your restraints, the things that you do that make you into a proper, strong person. The yamas are something that make you into a proper person of rational reason and even temper. and character. So what we have is like discipline building and character building types of aspects here, okay? Very important that we have certain kinds of discipline and character in our life. And yeah, we can say that there is a 10 commandment thing in the Bible that says, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. Yeah, this is a bit similar to that, but there's nobody forcing there's nobody forcing anybody to worship anyone in yoga. But this is the tricky part. So at the end of the list, so there's a list of things in both of these. At the end of the second list, there is a thing here called surrender to God. We call it Ishvara Pranadhana. You know, we got all these Sanskrit words. We're going to go over them here and there. I may have to cut to a longer video actually later on, or another video. I think maybe we should do this in segments because it gets quite deep. Yoga is not all it's cracked up to be in the industry of yoga. So yoga industry is only giving us 1/4 of this. We haven't even gotten to what we represent yoga as in most of the world nowadays. Yoga is represented as what? Yeah, stretching, right? Doing poses, doing like, you know, bringing your leg up over your head. I mean, anything that's like, you know, I'm just doing this because it feels good. You know, like this is probably what we did in the beginning of yoga, what feels good. Like we have pain in our body, we stretch our body, we move our body, we restore the flow of Shakti. So that's a big part of yoga. And it's said that wherever Shakti is blocked, there is suffering. So a very big objective of yoga is to restore the flow of Shakti, or conscious energy. And Shakti comes in many forms. So we can say the conscious energy of the life force itself flowing through your body, circulation, everything having to do with your organ functions and your bone alignment, the way you're stacking your bones. And this comes into our asanas, or our asanas. So we can also get into honest, truthful, real information. Information is its own Shakti. Because if we have false information and we don't know the truth, then there is a blockage in the flow of Shakti. And then there is suffering as there is ignorance. If there is no information that is actually flowing through into our, we can say, our reservoir of conscious information, our reservoir of knowledge and intelligence, then there's suffering. So it's kind of important that we understand the decontextualization of yoga. So the asana and pranayama are the parts of yoga that we acknowledge as yoga. So there is no one part of the Eightfold Path that is called yoga. However, this is what we identify as yoga. A-S-A-N-A, asan, or asana. That does not spell yoga. P-R-A-N-A-Y-A-M-A, pranayama. That is not how you spell yoga. Yet, this is what people take 200-hour trainings to be yoga teachers. You cannot be an actual yoga teacher with a 200 or even 500-hour training. Yet, we have these things now in place all over the world called yoga studios that basically prove me wrong. Yet, how come I've been practicing yoga for 33 years and studying it for that long, and I've come to the conclusion that something is wrong? Something is missing. All the rest of this is not really something we go over, and it is vital for anything that you build that you have a foundation. We are lacking this foundation. We might want to ask why. Anyway, after asana and pranayama, we have pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So just to briefly give you information on what each of these things are, pratyahara is to draw your senses inward. That means to take a moment to reflect on what is happening within you. Where is your attitude? What are your thoughts doing? Where is your mind wandering to? How are you feeling? Feelings, attitudes, thoughts. And yes, it could be also the quality of your breath, which is part of pranayama. So these all have ways of blending into each other. This is all very intelligent design. The whole of the picture of yoga is a beautiful, exquisite design. Exquisitely beautiful, intelligent design. And so the quality of our breath, as I said, can go right into the pratyahara. And then you are just checking into your heart, checking into the way you're feeling, your attitude, thoughts, you get it. And the next one is dharana. Dharana means focal point, concentration, what you are concentrating on. I've heard many yoga teachers in this field of yoga teaching, which is nice, that they say yoga is one-pointed focus. Well, that's great. But what exactly do they mean by that? Well, dharanas are a focal point. If you would like to find further reading on dharanas, there is an ancient text called the Vijnana Bhairav, which is essentially translated as divine consciousness, and it will help you to sort out the meaning of dharana by giving you these different exercises of yogic concentration, or basically something with which you can attain a state of dhyana, which is the next part, meditative absorption. It's very nice to check these things out. So dhyana is essentially, yes, a deep, joyful, serene state of meditation. And once you have practiced this serene and deep and beautiful meditation, and you've gotten here enough times, you should find yourself slipping into the next and final stage of yoga, samadhi. Samadhi is a blameless state of ecstasy where there is really no discrimination. It's just oneness that is beyond words you cannot describe. For if you were to try to describe this experience, it would go away. It would stop. It's a very interesting thing. I liken it to a butterfly that's just floating, flying through the air, and then just decides to land on you because you're in such a peaceful and serene state that the butterfly has no fear of you and feels that there is no threat and just lands on you because you're at such a high state of serenity and peace that this wonderful thing just happens. And this is essentially what yoga is. Yoga is not evil. Yoga is not a trick to get you to worship anyone or anything. I would like to go over the yamas and niyamas in the next video that I do. I would just like to close with letting you know it is not yoga that is evil. There is nothing wrong with yoga itself. It is the people who have been telling us what yoga is, who are themselves not evil, but have been deceived themselves. They've been confused, and they have been tricked into teaching a bastardized form of yoga, being that it is decontextualized, broken, and essentially contaminated due to its brokenness. It's contaminated because it's broken, and it's broken because it's contaminated. And once we can restore yoga as what it is, then we can restore humanity. We can heal this world, because then we can find a way to get along in peace. We can find a way to restore our inner harmony and find our serenity once again. I hope that this has helped you, at least in a small way, to understand that yoga is not evil. Industry is evil. Industry encourages us to suffer because our suffering is very profitable. And complete, true, and intact yoga is actually a vehicle of delivery and revelation. It is a vehicle of salvation. Salvation of our serenity, our mental state, our emotional and mental health can be found in yoga. You should perhaps even reconsider yoga not as the stretching thing, but as apotheosis path work. I find it vital at this point in time, in this time of human progress, or if you want to call it calamity, for us to revive bits and pieces, or maybe all, of the Greek classics, so that we can actually blend the Greek in with the Sanskrit. I know it's a little bit weird, but back in the ancient days, the ancient Greeks and the ancient Hindis, the people of Bharat, they were trading with each other quite a bit. Their sages were communicating with each other, and they came to some great conclusions with one another. And it's a funny thing also, those statues of the Buddha, they came from the ancient Greek people. When the ancient Greek people were trading with the people in the East, they learned about the enlightened one. And so they chose to create statues much in the style of their Greek deities and bring that over to Asia, to Southeast Asia, to China, Japan. It just ended up going all over the place. And, you know, in closing, I would like to say, if sitting, you know, your legs crossed in a meditative position is also an asana, then I guess that asana is tricking us into worshiping the Buddha, which nobody really is supposed to do. Nobody's worshiping the Buddha. We are honoring the Buddha, for where the Buddha came from was yoga. And that's perhaps something we can bring up also in another video. I'm happy to share. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to add any in the comments. Thank you. Namaste.